Sensationally silver, because you are.
Welcome, everyone, to Sensationally Silver, A State of Mind, conversations with extraordinary, ordinary persons of age, people who are going to bring you information, inspiration, and validation. Join us. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sensationally Silver, A State of Mind, conversations with extraordinary, ordinary persons of age. My guest today is one of my very favorite guests and one of my very favorite people, Julia Loggins. And we're doing part 2 of a little series we're doing on falling. Last time Julia was talking about this, we were addressing our attitude toward this aging body that we're in and how to maybe adjust that attitude so that we really take good care of ourselves rather than rebelling against getting older, because we do rebel sometimes. I know I do. I think I can still do this, and I can't. It's not an option anymore. So that's what we addressed last time. This time, we're talking about why people fall, how to keep that from happening, and how to fall. Right, Julia?
Exactly right.
Okay, well, tell us what we need to know about how to keep this from happening.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I had been doing a lot of just research from talking to elderly friends and clients, anybody over 60. But when I started to look at scientific research, the number one reason that science tells us people fall is reactions to medication or sleep medication, which took me a little by surprise, but it means that we have to talk about it. And I do realize that I actually have a dear friend and who became a client to help me work with her getting off of a sleep medication she was on. And as I thought of it, I've had many clients come to me as a colon therapist, as somebody that helps people cleanse and heal their bodies to get off of a sleep medication, which is a whole other subject. However, the one thing that I feel is important to say is obviously what's happening for people is that whatever they take for sleep is making them groggy and off balance in the morning more than they imagine. So it's like now the people that came to me, they knew that their sleep medications were affecting them. But I sense there's a whole world of people out there who aren't quite sensitive to the fact that what they're taking for sleep, whether it's a prescribed medication like Ambien, which we can actually talk about at some other point. Sleep medications is probably a great whole podcast because sleep is a big deal for older people. But Tylenol PM is one of the things that came up in my scientific research. People use it a lot. That is one of the things one of my clients came to me to help get off of. So these are over-the-counter medications. They cause sleepiness and grogginess. There are things that we can use to help us sleep that are natural, herbal remedies, things from mushrooms that don't have the same side effects, but it could be anything from a very strong side effect where people really notice it takes them a couple of hours to feel like they're in their body, to almost imperceptible, which is really the danger zone of falling, because anything we're not aware of is going to get us. So waking up and just not being fully present. So I would say one of the number one things to be aware of, besides everybody out there who's taking anything for sleep, how do you feel when you wake up? And I think for all of us, whether we take anything or not, my personal trainer taught me to take extra time before I get out of bed, give myself 30, 60, 90 seconds, take some deep breaths, and feel all my body. Just wiggle my toes, wiggle my hands, move around a little. It doesn't have to be a long time. Um, Mostly when we're older, we don't have tiny children running around that we have to just spring right up to the way we did when we were in our 20s and 30s and 40s. So we have a moment, take a moment and just be present before you get out of bed, because does that make any sense to you?
Absolutely. It sounds like what you're saying, Julia, is take a moment to re-inhabit your body.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of saying it.
So bring that awareness into this body so that when you put your feet on the floor, you can feel the floor.
Yeah. And then the next piece, speaking of putting our feet on the floor, is what are we slipping our feet into? Walking barefoot is a big trigger for older people who fall. Many of us loved being barefoot when we were younger, but many of us now need a level of support. Slippers that are anything that can slip, flip-flops should be absolutely not happening, except maybe when you get your toenails done for 10 minutes or something, but not something that we even walk around the house in. One of the people I worked with when I had a period of falling was someone who said, she said, I actually don't want you to get out of bed and not slip on a pretty good pair of slip-on tennis shoes, like with arch supports and everything. She said, Julia, for everybody out there, I'm a repeated faller. It's sort of like I feel like I'm standing up and doing my thing. I am a repeated faller, so I have had to learn these things and discipline myself. I actually have a pair of great slip-on tennis shoes, and as much as I love slippers, and I do own them, I actually do put on those shoes first thing in the morning. And the same thing with getting up to pee at night. This is another time when we fall. And so turn lights on. Turn lights on. When we were younger, we could just make our way around in the dark, but turn lights on. Just give yourself visibility. Vision is a big deal.
It's just a lot about paying attention, isn't it?
And it is so much paying attention, which is probably why someone like me who has barely lived in her body has fallen so much. Because and I don't know how many people out there can relate. Like I'm always 10 steps ahead of wherever my feet are. And it has got me into a lot of trouble. So if we can almost look at this instead of as, oh, I can't believe I have to do these things, like a meditative practice for this period of our lives, that meditation is no longer something we do 20 minutes twice a day. It's our life. It's not only going to regulate our nervous system, lower our blood pressure, balance our cortisol, elevate our mood, help us feel present, but it could save our lives.
Because falling is life threatening for most of us.
Falling is life threatening. The older we get, the more life threatening it is. So it's a big deal. And we are gonna, it is likely that we may fall. So all of these things are to make, we'll talk about how to do that later, how to do it without really hurting ourselves. But at this moment, how can we keep it from happening, especially in times that it could really end up with a serious fall, like when we're really groggy, when we have a medication where we're taking more than one medication. Anybody out there, if you're taking a medication that has a side effect that makes you feel a certain way other than present in your body, speak up to your doctor. Doctors often override these things and say, oh, you'll be better in a month, you'll be better in a week. But some of these things can cause problems other than what you're being medicated for that may be worse than what you're being medicated for. So please speak up about side effects to medication. Side effects to medication are another high level issue for people that are older. And we are trained, especially our generation, not to speak up, not to say, I know you told me that I would feel maybe not myself for a couple days, but it's been a week. Not acceptable. It can't be acceptable because it could really get us in trouble.
So it's okay to argue with your doctor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. And also realize you may have to get their attention. Doctors have 7 minutes to be with patients. unless you have a concierge doctor. They're moving quickly. They actually won't respond unless you are the squeaky wheel. They're wired for that. Kids know that more than anything, right? They know that if they don't get mom's attention like 5 times, mom's going to just be like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. So be like a 5-year-old. Don't let it go. And realize that that is actually what your doctor is sort of waiting for. Otherwise, it's in the category of not that big a deal. Your doctor isn't going to fire you for this. And it's okay. And, this is not a moment where we're trying to be liked. This is self-preservation. And it's going to happen with every medical practitioner. Most doctors and offices are moving quickly, they're understaffed. So please speak up about side effects to medications. Falling is one of the places that these side effects show up.
Maybe to put it in perspective, if we can keep in mind that anything having to do with falling, we are basically trying to save our life.
Yes, it's really that. It really is about saving our life, especially as we get older. Kids fall constantly. It's incredible the kinds of falls they can sustain. And that changes so dramatically for us as we get older. So moving more slowly, slowing down. Another thing that I was taught, and some people out there who live differently than apparently I was living this may not be a big deal, but check your spaces for plugs or wires or things that could trip you. I fell over a dog toy a few months ago. Things that are in your space, and if you have kids or animals, they're going to move things around. If you live alone, those things may not move around, but if you have kids or animals or grandkids, they're going to move things around. So check for wires, check for anything. Don't take anything for granted. Oh, I'll remember it's there. No, you won't. I mean, none of us do, especially as we're just going through our day.
Because we get in a habit of moving in a certain way on down certain paths.
Yeah.
We assume they're always going to be as open as they were the last time.
And then the next piece that's so important, and I've been really focused on it, so I can tell you what a change it's made, balance. One thing that people don't spend as much time working on as they get older is their balance. And the gold standard is, can you stand on one leg for 30 seconds? That's a gold standard. Can you stand on one leg for 30 seconds? And when I started, as I was healing my fall with my son, who's my personal trainer, I can tell you I can only do it for about 5. And I've been in great shape all my life, and I'm fit, but because of knee issues, joint issues, back issues, I had let the primary focus of my workouts and my mental state around what I needed to do to be strong. Balance was beginning to be at the bottom of the list. I could do it 5 seconds, and I'm up to 45.
I remember hearing a personal trainer say that people assume that balance has to do with coordination, but she said that is not the basis of balance. It's strength.
It's core strength. So, I can say, especially for anyone who's had personal injuries, if you're prioritizing any place to put your money, put it on strength training and core training. And if you don't have an extra dime to have someone help you, the reason why it's such a great gift to yourself at our age is because the tiniest movements that we do wrong can screw everything up. Like a time where our bodies just don't have forgiveness or muscle memory anymore. So I'll tell you that when Luke catches me and tells me to lower my hip doing something, it changes everything. I can't necessarily feel that. And it wouldn't have made that big of a difference when I was 30, but now it's everything. Now every piece of that is saving my life. So there are wonderful um, online programs that teach balance, that teach step by step, starting with the fact that you can't stand on one leg for 5 seconds. starting there, if that's where you're at. And it's okay. I have one, I'm about to get hip surgery in September. So I have one hip that's basically not working and an SI that's out of joint. And I can still do 45 seconds on that leg, core strength. So that's been a big change. And that stabilizes us. That is actually one of the reasons why people who are younger, when they fall, don't hurt themselves so badly. Their core is so much stronger. So the places that they don't get hurt, they don't hurt their head as much. They don't hurt the parts of us that could really end up being, they might sprain something, they might bruise something, but they generally don't hit heads and they don't generally hit elbows. It's core strength really changes that. So find it, go to your local Y, anything you can do. And if you love exercise, like you love, whatever you love, like you love jazzercise. I've actually always loved movement, but and I did yoga when I was younger, but as my joints started bothering me, I was moving away from yoga and doing other things that were fun. I was moving away from my core training. So I can say that core strength is so everything. The flip side is that my belly's totally flat. It's really interesting. Like, if we want to look at vanity takeaways and we all, anything we can do to look in the mirror and love ourselves these days is a win. So if you want to flatten your tummy, it's all core strength. And I'm not even talking about you. Luke and I haven't done one sit up because of my back and my SI. I have arthritis in my back. We're not doing the kind of sit ups we all think of as like the kind we did in the 6th grade. We're actually doing much smaller movements and building core. So there's so many online ways you can do that for free.
And I'm assuming that we also have to be willing to have a little humility and a lot of patience, because we're not going to start right out doing this well, probably, especially if we haven't been paying attention to it for maybe even a decade or two.
How about a lot of humility? It's a lot of humility. I actually said to Luke, you should be filming me because nobody could have started in as bad a shape as me. But to see progress is to go, my gosh, to see that I was, couldn't stand on my leg for 5 seconds and now I can, to see core strength I'm 71, that I can be stronger now. In many ways, I'm never going to be as strong as I was in my 40s, kind of no matter what I do. But guess what? In some ways, I'm much stronger than I was 10 years ago, only in the last few months of working out. And now my goal is to be a really, really strong 75-year-old. It's like we can't turn the clock back, but guess what? We can get stronger. The stronger we get, the safer we are in our body. It's just goes with the territory. Every moment of working on strength and balance training puts you in your body. And it may not be as interesting as other things that we can do. Um, but it's so important. So I will say for everybody, because right under medication for why people fall is lack of balance.
Yeah, I feel it in myself. There are ways that I don't balance anymore that I never even had to think about before.
Yeah.
So let's talk about falling and how to do it.
Yeah.
Because recently I fell. I was out doing gardening and I fell, and it was the first. I've had a lot of falls. I've ridden horses. If you're going to get on, you have to be ready to come off. I have never fallen properly ever in my life. Once I did what I call it was on my back, but it was a belly flop on my back. I mean, splat on my back. And this time, I don't know why, I was able to think about it as I fell. I've always found myself on the ground, like, how did
Wow.
I get here? But this time I could think about it as I was falling, and I rolled.
Oh,
Such a difference. But I was so amazed that, because I could feel when I rolled how much pressure that took off of the fall.
yes.
So different from a splat to all these different parts absorbing the the collision that my body made with the ground. So talk about that.
You're so right. That's exactly what they teach us, to fall slowly and to relax into it. Like, don't tense, to just relax into it and to let the meatiest parts of you, like your bum, the meatiest parts of our body, take as much of the pressure as you can and just roll into it. It's always been sort of well known that that people who drink a lot fall down and hardly ever get hurt, right? I mean, whether that's true or not, I'm not sure, but I think it is true because they're relaxed and they just fall into it and they have terrible falls and hardly hurt themselves and very rarely hit their head. And that's one of the number one things that research shows that we don't want to do. Of all the parts of our body, we do not want to hit our head. So if you feel like your head is in danger and you can protect your head with your hands, great. But the best thing is, like, one of the things I was taught is, even if you put your hand out, that yes, you might hurt your wrist, but it's better than hurting your head. So, we can heal up a wrist much faster than you can heal a head injury. And so just relax into it and roll. And actually, lots of classes at the Y and places that work with older people teach falling, by the way, on really cozy tumbling mats. So no one's going to get hurt. And they teach us to be kind of like, to not be so scared of it, to be more comfortable with it, because that tension that we have, oh my gosh, this terrible thing is happening and I'm going to be really hurt. I'm like, our minds just take us down the road. Kids don't feel like that. Athletes are falling constantly, and it's just like part of their lives. And for us, it's this big, terrifying monster. So I actually wish that there was like Aikido classes for elderly people. If anyone doesn't know, Aikido is a Japanese martial arts, and it's a form of self-defense based on using other people's energy, but it's all about falling. It's all about falling. It's all about moving and rolling and being comfortable. And I don't have a history of Aikido training, but I've seen lots of videos of it. And they tuck their shoulder when they fall. They really have a beautiful way of doing it. And it would probably be a wonderful thing for all of us to do. But really, what you did, Robin, was just brilliant. And the fact that you just trusted your body and you just trusted what was happening. And look at you were fine.
Well, I am fine. And I have to admit that why that worked, why I could roll with it, was the first time I'd ever fallen that I didn't find myself on the ground wondering what happened.
So you were present.
It was like time slowed down. And so I could make the choice to use that shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was amazed that I was so little hurt. Very thankful too. I just want to say something about gratitude. If I trip and I don't fall, I say thank you.
Yes.
Trip and fall, but I can still get up. I say
Yes.
thank you. I mean, just keep saying thank you for anything good, because the more we say thank you, the more good stuff we have.
That's so true. I love that. I know what you mean. I feel the same way. If something catches my attention and I notice a step that I was about to trip over it, you're so true. Just thank you. And then, of course, I also feel like it's a little something tapping me on the shoulder to say, okay, this was a tiny thing, but the rest of the day, be very present, be in your body. And also, because we may be moving slower, so it's better to be 10 minutes late for something. It's After all, I mean, at our age, if we don't know what's important and what's not, when are we going to know? So, basically taking the extra time, whatever it's about. We're always terrified of inconveniencing anyone. Ironically, especially doctors, whom we're all seeing a lot and who you have to go wait an hour in their waiting room anyway. Whatever it is that you think you're about to miss, now you're hurrying. And the other thing is, speaking of nutrition, you mentioned that right before we started. And you do know, physical, chronic issues and health issues are a big part of falling. Diabetes and low blood sugar. So for people who are diabetic, making sure you're watching your insulin, all of that, that you're monitoring yourself, that if you need extra help with that, that you're asking your doctor for it. But type 2 diabetes, which is so common for people over 60, can be almost completely regulated by diet and lifestyle changes. I don't think I have one type 2 diabetic client who hasn't been able to get off their meds through diet and lifestyle changes, exercise and diet. So, one of the things that really can cause the fall is low blood sugar. That means all of a sudden, imperceptibly and then perceptibly, there's a sense of spaciness, brain fog, dizziness, maybe a little sweating. All of those things create a blood sugar crash. But even right before the crash is you're just feeling out of your body. The antidote for that is protein. I mean, as far as nutrition goes over 60, it's protein, protein, protein. Just protein, protein, protein. Reach for protein. That is one of the things that we can do to take care of us is just eat more protein. And it doesn't have to be in solid form. If you have a protein powder you love, actually liquid form, when people are really having a blood sugar crash, the body doesn't actually assimilate solid food very fast. A protein drink can get into the bloodstream in 30 seconds. So, I mean, I created protein powders because I have dealt with hypoglycemia my whole life, and I needed to be able to regulate my blood sugar. And even though the doctor would say eat, when you've crashed, it doesn't absorb. So protein drinks can be so great. I am not a fan of Ensure, I will say. It's not the healthiest thing, but you know what? It's better than nothing. And there's certainly healthy and pretty low cost protein powders on the market, but nutrition is a big one around fortifying us to be present in our body.
So it sounds like if we a little bit of an attitude shift, we can think about it's almost like carrying a first aid kit, making
Yeah,
sure that we don't have to go from here to the market to get what we need when our brain isn't working very well and we're a little dizzy, a little out of it, whatever. We sit down and use whatever you're carrying to help that blood sugar come back up and be patient.
yeah. I mean, I have never left home in, I don't know, 40 years without a cooler. I mean, I have a shaker bottle for protein powder. I have, turkey roll-ups, goat cheese, always some form of protein in a cooler. I've always carried it. I mean, I took it to the Academy Awards. I literally never leave home without a cooler. I'm always feeding everybody else out of it. But I mean, that's something that just to get used to. And this is sort of another place where doing something that may be unfamiliar to us and uncomfortable makes room for other people to do something that they need to do. We are all role models at our age. Even if you don't think anybody's watching, they are. We are all role models. So you're making it more comfortable for your child, your grandchild, your best friend, your partner to do something that we, general society doesn't give us permission to do. I noticed that my kids do all these things super easy. They just have so much less. I mean, my professional soccer playing nephew had a cooler with him his whole entire career. He never ate the crap that they were serving. He's like, my body is my everything. I'm not going to put junk in it. I don't care what people think. And younger people have an easier time with that. So maybe it's time to reference your inner teenager who just doesn't care. He or she is right there going, yeah, we don't care. And do what works. Carry the food, whatever kind of a snacky thing. A sugar snack is not really where you want to go. It's really got to be in a protein direction. So we can always talk about actually a snack podcast is great because when I do coaching calls with people on their diet and they're like, I don't know what's going on, why I feel so bad, and I listen to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's the snacks that are getting them. It's like, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, that's your snack. No wonder you're not feeling good. But snacks can also save our lives. So, that's something we can fortify ourselves with, and that helps us be more present in our body.
So a lot of this comes down to really loving ourselves enough to making these changes sticking with them, practicing until we get good at it or until it becomes,
Asking for help.
yeah, asking for help, making sure we carry our own health with us, our own help with us, and our health with us, I guess, too.
And when someone says, do you need help? The answer is yes. I mean, I still say no, even to my husband. It's crazy. That conditioning is so deep. So, ask for help, accept help.
When I was a little younger and people would say at the grocery store, "Do you need help out?" I would say, "Not unless you're going to come home with me and put it away." And I thought that was so clever of me. Now I say, "Oh, I would love help. Thank you so much." I'm not that person I was before. I'm not as strong.
Right.
I get a big smile back.
I know, right?
They don't go, "Oh God, I've got to help this old lady." It's like, yeah. And they push the cart and put it away in the car. And I'm so grateful. And they're so sweet. And it's lovely.
It is. We give people an opportunity to show up, and people love that. We have a moment of intimate connection that we all need more and more and more. And we all know how much, like, that kind of a thing can make your whole day. Meet somebody new that you just never imagined.
Yeah.
And so, as you said, humility, presence, and at this time in our lives, each day is really precious. We're not going to have probably 30 more years of them. So, therefore, they're really precious, and taking the time that we probably didn't have in our 20s and 30s. We were working, we had kids, we were just kind of getting through the day, and we had little moments where we stopped. Well, let's use this time to just appreciate, I'm never going to get another August 14, 2026 back, or whatever the date is, ever again. This is my only precious life. Like, this is what we're doing. And so we're here to just slow down and enjoy it.
Well, that kind of says it all. So, as always, Julia has been wonderfully full of great direction and great advice, great reminders, great new information on how to take care of this body we're in now. It's not the same body it was when we were 15 or 25 or 35 or whatever. It needs a little more care. I've used this example so many times on this podcast. I like to regard myself as a classic car. The value is in the age, but it means it takes a lot of maintenance to keep it on the road.
Yep.
So, I like to think about it that way, not, "Oh, I'm so old, I can't do these things anymore." It's like, no, I'm very special because I'm old and
Yeah,
I require some help.
that's right. We do.
And thank you to all of you for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Yes, we will. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Great news, everybody. Our premier hair care product line, Sensationally Silver, is now available on Amazon. You can order it so easily, you can get it so quickly, and you can be so sensationally silver.
Sensationally silver.